Having me. My name is Stacy LeBaron. I am the founder and host at HeadCat here at the Community Cats podcast. And today I'll be talking about cause and effect, mass trapping strategies for measurable impact on community cats. And we're just so thrilled to be part of this conference. And I'm really thrilled to help everyone in the audience be able to turn their passion for cats into action. So we're going to jump right into things. And I'm going to skip over a few of our beginning slides because I was introduced earlier, so that is fantastic. And thank you again to the host for creating such a wonderful conference for us. So quick information, if you are not a podcast listener and you would like to be, this is the place to turn your passion for cats into action. So the Community Cats podcast is a place where we try to share stories globally about how folks are helping cats in their communities. So this is a worldwide oriented podcast, and we're here to help you. So I really pride myself on being able to be in touch with everybody, even individually. If you reach out to us at the team, we're happy to help, because if there's anyone out there that wants to be able to help cats, we want to help them get the tools that they need to be able to help them. So if you are interested in listening to podcasts, please tune into us at those various locations. A little bit about myself. I just want to share that's a picture of myself in Switzerland with one of our community cats that's shared by many of the folks in our condo complex there. I live between Switzerland and Vermont, and that is Sandro, or Xander, if you want to Americanize him, which we're trying hard to do. But just want to share that I also am appreciative of community cat ownership, and he is a blessing to all of us in our condo complex. All right, so now we're going to get into the heart of our program. Many of you probably have not heard about the community cat pyramid. And in the United States, we have what's called the food pyramid. And so, which is designed to tell you how many fruits and vegetables to have, and what's good for health. And of course, cake and cookies are up at the top, unfortunately. And I, over the years, in my experience working with the Merrimack River Feline Rescue Society in Massachusetts, I worked helping cats doing trap, neuter, return programs in the Newburyport waterfront, where we reduced the cat population from 300 cats down to 0 in the course of about 10 years. And one thing we did realize was that that wasn't reaching the source of the problem. So in Newburyport, we found that there would be Adam and Eve, two cats that were abandoned, and then they would start and have kittens, and then there's another colony that would get started. So how do we prevent that Adam and Eve situation from even happening? So from even having. I know that some of the presenters talk about looking upstream and getting to the root cause of our cat overpopulation problem. And that really is incredibly impactful. So back in 2008, we started a mobile spay neuter clinic program called the Catmobile program, and which helped support affordable spay neuter for cats, and sterilization for cats in eastern Massachusetts. And it was really a dramatic change when we offered spay neuter in the owned cat population. We didn't think that there was really that much of an impact by that group, but it really did change the level of intakes into the shelters. And so by a factor of probably anywhere from 5 to 10. So we were working hard trapping cats, bringing them into clinics, doing a lot of heavy lifting, rescuing, TN rescue, a lot of rescuing of kittens. And then we realized if we started looking at that owned cat population, we were able to really be significantly impactful in a way that was also financially beneficial too, because it was a break-even program. So it was funded by revenues from the program. It wasn't done with fundraising. And so we were offering affordable pricing. It wasn't free, wasn't super cheap, but it was affordable pricing just to allow the community to be able to get those cats spayed or neutered or sterilized in their communities. And so with that being said, we then decided to design this community cat pyramid. I grew up with the Merrimack River Feline Rescue Society, which first started out as a trap, neuter, return program. Basically, it was this large mass trapping project of the 300 cats on the waterfront in Newburyport. And we spent a lot of time in the first year. Out of the 300 cats, 125 cats and kittens were pulled in and rescued and put up for adoption. So, with many trap, neuter, return programs, there is an element of rescue that is involved, and it's very labor intensive. And so it was a big challenge for us as a very small organization back in 1992 when they first started. And then I joined the group in 1994. We realized how expensive adoption and rescue really was. We rented a facility, we bought cages, obviously there's veterinary care. Did we want staff? And so that became incredibly labor intensive, and we found that we were drifting away from our original mission, which was this trap, neuter, return program. Once we got to a critical mass in that area, we ended up kind of leaning more into that adoption realm. And yet many communities around us would call us up and they say, we want more. We want what you're doing. We want to have what you're doing in our town. And so then we redirected ourselves in the year of 2000, and we started doing some MASH style spay neuter clinics to provide spay neuter assistance to these communities around us, because we didn't want to build adoption centers. We wanted to build capacity in those areas. And what they were telling us was that they were paying $125 per cat, and this is back in the 90s. And so how do you handle that as a small organization if you're trying to do trap, neuter, return for a colony of over 20 cats? So there were a lot of challenges in the area, and how do we want to grow and build our capacity? So again, it was forcing us to look at a way of going upstream. So we continued our local trap, neuter, return programs, expanding to 10 service area towns covering a population of 125,000 people. But we also extended this weekend sterilization event that was free to anyone. Any cat in a trap was welcome to these monthly sterilization events that we had with donated services, and we fundraised for the buying the materials and that kind of thing. And that really helped enable these smaller organizations, very community-based organizations, be able to provide programming in their areas and be able to provide spay, neuter, and sterilization support in that area for the cats. So instead of us just recreating what we were doing in our local area, we were trying to enable others to be able to create more programming in their areas and their communities. Those Sunday clinics still continue. They still continue at this time. So I guess we're talking 25 years now that these monthly clinics have been happening. So continuing to look here at this community cat pyramid, again, then when we were doing our TNR work and the MASH style clinics, we did realize we still were not getting to the root cause, to the source of the owned cat population needing significant support with spay neuter services. I had gone and looked at a property in southern New Hampshire. It was a bar, and I was told there were lots of kittens at this bar, and so I was supposed to come and help them out. So I went and visited the site. We all do a first site visit, when we identify a group of cats that need assistance. And there were about 30 to 35 kittens living in that dumpster, and all of them had runny, goopy eyes. And I know many of you have seen this scene before. And so I was like, okay, well, we need to get these kittens helped. But looking off into the woods, I'm like, where are these cats all coming from? Where are these kittens coming from? And looking into the woods, I saw about 20 adult cats looking at me through the woods behind the trees. And then looking through the woods even farther, I saw 3 apartment buildings. And so there I was like, that's where I want to go, is I want to go to those apartment buildings. I want to get to the cats that are at those apartments and make sure that not only are we getting the cats in the woods spayed or neutered and giving them the shelter that they need, but we also want to engage the community of those apartment owners and get them involved and ensure that their cats are all sterilized too. So it's continuing to follow the journey of cat so that we can enable all of our cats to be able to have access to sterilization services, all of our families and all of the cats with those families and all of those that advocate for cats. So that again is why we started our support. Looking at the base of this community cat pyramid is that support assisting owned cat populations. That's a volume program, but it's not a costly program. So that is where you're getting your maintenance level. This is what's going to live in the community, long range, and you're going to always ensure that your sterilization rates are at a significant level. And my objective would be to 95% of owned cats in any community have a sterilization rate of about 95%. So just wanted to share this. Many people, what they will do is they will print this out, they'll put it up on their wall as a reminder of where their mission is. If your mission is to reduce cat overpopulation, this is definitely something to keep in the back of your mind, because it's very easy to look at the top of this pyramid where we have here relocation, sanctuary. Those are very high labor. And some people may even question, a successful quality of life for those cats. So we wonder, is this the best option for these cats in the sanctuary or relocation option? Now, we have run a barn relocation program, a working cats program at the Merrimack River Feline Rescue Society. We ran one for years. We still have one. And there are many, many barns, greenhouses. There are many working cat alternatives out there that are wonderful. They're fantastic. They're great, but it is a labor of significant love. And so we just need to be aware of how we're best utilizing our resources if your organization's ultimate mission is to reduce cat overpopulation. If your organization's mission, so asking your question of what is your why are you here? Maybe you're here to help neonatal kittens, which is fine. You're one piece of the puzzle. There's always this magical jigsaw puzzle of success in the community to help support the community. And that is wonderful and it's great, but to understand you're a piece, but not the whole puzzle. And so then we have to work much more collaboratively together to be able to really ensure that we're serving the needs of the cat community. Again, we do, I believe, in general, want to reduce our cat overpopulation situation. We want to raise the level of our perceptions of cats and create a humane community for cats. So please, please, please take this community cat pyramid. And we have a page on our website about it to try and understand it. There's also what we have is called a community cat calculator. And we have a calculator where you plug in numbers for the United States and it will spit out basically the approximate number of cats that you need to do trap, neuter, return, as well as owned cat spay neuter within your community. And it's not cat counting. It is cat sterilization numbers for ongoing maintenance. So many people will go into that calculator and they think I have so many more cats in my community, it's crazy. And it's not the number of cats, it's the number of programmatic surgeries that you really need to enable to have in your community. We have a substantial deficit in the amount of offerings that are out there for access to spay neuter services, for sterilization services. We have a veterinary shortage here in the United States. The cost for spay neuter services is extremely prohibitive in many areas of the country. And I think it's very important for us to understand what is the need in order to be impactful, because if we don't know where we're going, then we feel like we're going nowhere. And so just to get at least some baseline numbers is very important. We also have a understanding the community cat calculator worksheet here too, which is downloadable. And what you can then do is just put your own population numbers. It works with human population and then calculates through to the trap, neuter, return numbers, also to the owned population, cat populations, sterilization numbers. And you can just do your own cat math. So it's your own worksheet. I'm happy to talk people through it. And so that's something that's really important. One thing that we also will be that's important with mass trapping. So we have this public involvement, the big picture, like cover the large area, but then we do have these pockets, and we all know these specific areas where we are going to have to do some dedicated mass trapping. That case in southern New Hampshire, that area in Newburyport, Massachusetts, those are mass trapping areas. Those are areas where we as organizations will come in, will get involved, or a group of neighbors will get together and create sort of a cat trapping team working together to develop a mass trapping plan. And so, we're going to talk about how with mass trapping is really important with community engagement so that there's long-term maintenance of that group of cats. It's a commitment, it's a 10+ year commitment if you're going to do trap, neuter, return for cats in a mass trapping project. Many times that infrastructure already exists. So you want to leverage the people in the community to be able to learn how to do and participate in mass trapping and be able to support the community. So there's cats. Cats also, we have another poster here of getting the community involved and let them be part of this process. We want to do a sort of a SWOT analysis of the community, making sure if there aren't any obstacles. Having a key coordinator when you've identified a large project that you want to work on, having a key coordinator is really valuable. And making sure you have buy-in from your local stakeholders is important here. So these are some of the key questions. Does the location work? Are folks willing to be trained? Is the community, underserved? How are we going to get access to care, long-term access to care? What other support? We've had malnourished colonies where we've had to kind of work to get the health of the cats up to speed so that they're ready for surgery. And then, does this project have unique needs, rural, urban, suburban, what type of environment is? So you're going to do that whole analysis. I call it a community cats needs assessment. You're going to do that analysis beforehand so that then you are able to predict how this project will work out. And so I am going to just go right through here. We're going to talk about a rural project that we did about a year ago here with the Community Cats podcast in collaboration with several other organizations. So this is actually, it's a dairy farm that is a few miles from myself here in rural Vermont. And we had a person reach out. It actually took them 18 months to find us to be able to get involved in this project. So it can tell you how the runaround seems to go. I feel like everybody knows me, everybody knows what I do, and it still took somebody who's like 3 miles down the road. It took them, 18 months to find us. So never assume everybody knows what you're doing. And we finally got connected, and he said, I've been placing kittens out of this barn for the last 3 years, and I am done. I'm done. And what can we do to get these cats fixed? And so we did a site visit. He agreed, the manager there agreed to get TNR certified through one of our online certification workshops. He goes, I'll take any webinar you've got. The owners of the farm were a little bit skeptical. They were a little bit questioning about the whole process, but we did some baby steps with them, and they eventually finally agreed to be able to do this. So we have some beautiful pictures, and I hope you enjoy this show. I'm sort of going to make it more like a slideshow as I talk along through the story, but I do feel like the pictures share the stories quite well. So, we initially, here is Dave. He was our lead at the barn, and he's like taking all the classes. He did a drop trap class. He did everything, and he is the key representative there and who had been placing the kittens. So I met him. We took video of the location. We saw how they fed the cats, who were the cat whisperers there, and so we established that lay of the land. And then we did some planning. We were planning out our trapping days. We took the cats, drove them 2.5 hours to the free Sunday spay and neuter clinics that the Merrimack River Feline Rescue Society offers. And that was necessary because we couldn't find any spay neuter services more locally. And so we ended up having to collaborate with the Massachusetts Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, the MSPCA. We borrowed their transport van, and we brought it up to Vermont and used that to pack the cats up to bring them down to the clinic in Massachusetts. So it is really a patchwork of resources that had to be put together in order to make this happen. So we were gathering supplies. We did use trappers, cat trappers as advisors and helpers in the trapping process. We trapped in 48 hours. We trapped 27 cats. And so we had a trap plan. We were doing trap training. And as you can see along the barn wall, you see how the traps are lined up there. We started with the box traps and then we went into drop trapping after that. And then this is part of that planning process, coordinating with the vets, the holding space, the transportation, what to do if you have kittens that are underage. So we were able to transfer 7 kittens into rescue. So we ended up returning about 20 cats back to the farm. And so we have the conversation with the property owner and the manager, skilled trappers. So we used May as as a veteran trapper who was advising with Dave. And that's Kristen, our technical tabby, there as a helper. So she was the bus driver and did a lot of schlepping, and she was the driver there. So then we also looking at, holding location. So we used an old trailer at the farm as the holding location, and that's where they were located. But yes, always identifying a holding location for the cats for recovery. And then we have them at the spay neuter clinic. And then there was transportation there. You can see the MSPCA's transport van. We do our MASH style clinics at the MSPCA's facility in Methuen because it can handle upwards of 100 cats at a time. And so we will do like 60 or 70 cats, on a dedicated Sunday. And again, most of the trappers now are coming from 2+ hours away driving because we've created such a big moat over the years for TNR that it's a really limited number of cats that come to those Sunday clinics from the local area. So we're continue to expand our reach, but that is a challenge of ours now because the moat has gotten so big. Here's a listing of the equipment. So, we needed to access a lot of traps and we were running around at the last minute trying to get a few more traps, bait, and then, making sure you have your carabiners and various other things, headlamps, cameras, tarps. So there's a whole range of different mass trapping equipment that is necessary. Lot of strategic details. There's just a lot of details, but if you miss one of those details, then you feel like you're running around and everything is very last minute. One other detail that we don't talk about too much is weather, and that's always an issue because if you run into a snowstorm or a rainstorm or something like that, we were very lucky in the fact that we had some beautiful weather for this trapping weekend, and weather can make or break a trapping plan. So we have to kind of sort of like planning a wedding. That's the way I feel. And you kind of have to run with whatever you get on that particular time. So adapting the plan to the farm, we made adjustments. Where was actually one young kid about 10, 12 years old, Eli, and he seemed to know where all the cats lived. And so we were really utilizing those local resources to be able to make sure that the cats were identified and that we were really getting that last cat. All right, and then so we're gonna go back at the farm and we're gonna set things in motion. So we're gonna cruise through here. So 2 days of trapping. And so you see how we're setting up the pictures. You see the cat in the corner there going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" That shelving area is where they used to feed the cats, or they still do. They feed the cats all the time there. So they were, establishing the traps right in the area where the cats frequented in the barn, in the dairy barn where they were, the cows were there in the morning. So we had to wait until the cows were moved out afterwards. And so they started trapping at 7 a.m. after the cows were moved out. And then they trapped again at night before the cows were brought back in. You see that green area too. There's Eli, the back of Eli there. And so you can see how they're setting up all the traps, getting the bait set. Here's more trapping photos here of the work that's, been done, that was being done here. And, these cats had not been fed for at least 24, maybe 36 hours. So they were definitely wondering where their crunchies were. So it was really well planned and well orchestrated to get a really significant population at the beginning of time. A lot of those cats, the kittens, semi-feral kittens that were there, were in that green area on the left that you'll see in that picture. So sort of hiding out there. Of course, we have to have pictures of cows in here, more pictures of where the traps were getting set up. Eli was really the master. So here's the trailer where the cats were being held for recovery. So it was all set up. It was nice and shady. It was a pretty warm weekend, but the trailer itself was kept pretty cool. These are some of the pictures of the cats. It was day 2 was slow but steady, so we were working to get the last group of cats. So lots of unknown things to look out for. And I mentioned weather setbacks, transport surprises, unknowns of unknowns, running out of traps, double trapping, moving the cats, is breaking the, putting cats in 2 separate traps. So those are some of the surprises. Here's a picture of the van, packed up, ready to go, paperwork. They're all going to the clinic. And here they are. They're now at the clinic. And we're going through here. So, and you see them in surgery. There's Dave watching the cats very carefully. People working. Nate, take note of that central person there with the red hair. We're going to go through more pictures of our clinic and how the clinic works. This is Dave at the end, exhausted, as we're end of the long day, and we're starting to release the cats. So here's the happy ending for everybody, which is wonderful. So summary and stats: estimated number of cats was 23. Actual cats trapped, 27th. 28 kittens placed in foster homes, 2 working cats placed. So it was 17 cats returned. We had no medically necessary euthanasia. So that was successful. But wait, there's a little bit more. So we're monitoring the colony. So this was a little kitty Creamsicle who was rescued out of this. So this is what I'm going to say. People say you cannot fundraise for trap, neuter, return, and I'm going to say you're totally wrong. So here's Creamsicle, and the Creamsicle was at our, whoops, I'm going to go back again, one more. Creamsicle was at our fundraiser, the Fur Ball, and we did a fund a need, and Creamsicle raised over $30,000. So I'm going to just put it at that. As you put the story out about little Creamsicle and how Creamsicle was fostered and then ended up being adopted and became a wonderful little kitty from the barn. And this whole story was great and successful, and we raised $30,000 from Creamsicle. So that's fantastic. A couple of key takeaways. Develop your people skills, ask as many questions, and plan. Don't be afraid to collaborate. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Please reach out for help. Ensure humane care throughout the process. Document your process via photos, video. Don't forget to fundraise. And TNR alone won't solve the problem. Education and services for owned cats are a must. So we're going to have a folder of hints and helpful tools, handy links, a variety of different pieces of information. We have an Everything TNR playlist on our YouTube page. So please check it out with this QR code. And now it's time for questions. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in with me today.